you know, if you fall behind, it's not as amazing because you know, it doesn't kind of rely on you snowballing. But when it's good, it's amazing. You know, the Flea and Soul combo here with Lesh and Io. But I'm not convinced on the Weaver, and I don't know if Bane is enough to shut down the Alchemist. And you look at the damage, honestly, it's like the supports do no damage, and the Weaver's okay as a carry in terms of
Yeah.
damage, but like I
I
feel like it's damage problems from
I,
Alpha.
I I think like there are issues with their draft. I think the biggest problem I see is that like their initiation is basically only Mars. Past the depending on what Solda wants to build here on his mid lane Lash. If he wants to go for like the super tanky like you know Kaya and Sanj and the Eternal Shroud Lash, you know, like he can kind of just walk in for a while. But eventually that's gonna stop working, and it's all up to Mars. And the reason I don't like that is because you don't really have vision on your team. Like no one kind of grants you the kind of vision. At that stage of the game, you can't afford to send your Weaver in first with Sakuchi to try and scout because there's gems and he can get like one shot basically by this Alk and just killed super easily. And it's just going to be Mars like hunting for what is probably going to feel like the perfect arena with against an Alchemist, pardon me, that is going to overfarm you. Like there's no other way around it really. It's kind of what he does. So yeah, I don't know. I also see problems in this draft, but if they can try and undercut this Alchemist timing where he's like 6-slotted, perhaps they've got themselves a good chance here. We'll see as they look to set up here for Bloody 9. And they should have this kill between the auto attacks. It'll go the way of Monster.
Good for them. That much needed start as well. A little surprising that like they were able to get a kill like that, but anyway, good for Alpha. Yeah, I've never been a fan of this like one melee for ranged draft, especially when the one melee guy is something like a Magnus, you know, or a Mars or a Talent Token. But it's like you usually want these heroes to sort of go in second. You want something like a Spirit Breaker to go in, Earth Spirit, Clockwork, anyone who can provide vision. But we'll see. If everyone can do it, it's Alpha. You know, they are looking very strong this tournament.
Yeah, you can see Monster and Flea juggling the poison attack stacks here pretty nicely. And again, Bloody 9 pretty much out of mana already. He's got enough for like another 5 stacks or so. So, you know, he'll be making it up rather quickly. And he's buying all important time in these early levels for the Alchemist. But now that he's out, yeah, he's just going to get bullied a little bit more. And I'm not sure how many trips back to the fountain he wants to be making before he starts griefing his team's game.
Another thing is that you are up against an IO, so it is a bit less valuable to get all that harass off. Like in the previous game, we saw when the turns played, they're like, oh yeah, you can just harass as much as you want, that's great. But here it's like against IO, you know, after like what, 10 seconds, everyone's gonna be full, usually. It's like one tango for the IO, that's all they really need.
Yeah. Especially with these changes to Overcharge, I think you're going to see a lot more Wisp put points into Tether. And not max at first, but probably like, I don't know, maybe like a 2-1-2 builds. I've been seeing at the Stockholm Major, we saw quite a few Wisps actually spec into some points in those spirits. I'm talking like 1-3-1 even, is how much they put into it. Just for some early damage. And that might be something they consider this game as well, when Mars is basically only useful for control and Lesh is the only other damage output. Flea might consider maxing Wisps here. We'll see. But I think there's a couple of interesting things you can do on Wisp this game, specifically to help your team out. But for the most part, it's just pressing E whenever your Mars gets a little bit low. That's kind of what the laning stage boils down to for him.
Yeah, and like you said, I mean, plus the points in W could help you farm a little bit. He does need to get the shard. You know, it's like you got a bit of a shopping list now on the IO. It's like the shard, the holy locket, the mech if you can get. Like there are a few things that you actually need to buy.
Yeah, and those are all pretty major items, right? Like a mech heal is pretty substantial versus a Void Spirit who's got a set amount of burst magic damage, and then that's about it. He empties out his tank pretty fast as they threaten the life of Stonebank. That's a healing salve courtesy of Bloody 9, and you can see here how little effectiveness it's going to have, relatively speaking. Half duration. 9 stick charges, so he's not in any danger or anything. But that means that Bloody 9 can no longer trade as effectively. He's carrying a big stick himself, though. And now he's got double the amount of mangoes. 2 mangoes. He keeps them nicely split here with his stick in between.
I was like, why is that? Why is that a thing? Why didn't they just go like this? Maybe it was 3-2 and he just ate one of them. And it's like, alright. But now he needs to put them together. It's 2-on-1. He's wasting slots here.
He's keeping his mangoes. You know, he's doing some mango art there. Don't worry about it. Over in the mid lane, checking in on my favorite part about the mid lane matchup is seeing the skill builds. Because again, I think on Lesh especially, the skill build kind of telegraphs how the players are feeling. He's going 2-0-2 so far, so kind of the lane domination builds. They're trying to bully kits, trying to secure his farm here early. And you can see the buffs here in Lightning Storm. I think we're going to see a lot more of 202 instead of like 211s. But we'll see if he decides to put a point in the Edict before or after level 6. If he just wants to continue farming, if he thinks they can afford that, we'll see.
Yeah, plus with this skill build, he might be more willing to just, rotate into any lane, get kills, because, the stun's better, the damage is also the slow from the Lightning Storm.
Yeah,
and I'm interested to see his third point, because Lightning Storm 2 points is very value, and yeah, it goes for Edict.
So the thing about Edict in the mid lane, and why it doesn't make sense early, of course, is it's a short lane. Like, you have to run away pretty... you don't have to run very far, is what I meant to say. And enemies can TP in. There's almost always creeps in the mid lane, which are going to be sharing those damage bounces. So, like, it just doesn't feel good. But now you're going to start to see some points into it. Because, again, Void is one of the better rotators. As they get Yara in top lane, 2 kills early for DogChamp. Rises, he'll make it out all right. He'll be fine.
Yeah. I think it's Alpha who got 2 kills, actually. But.
Yes, true.
But yeah, well, bottom lane, they're going for Monster. Doing decent damage here. Can they kill him down? They are.
There's no heals available for Flea, and Monster, I think, is just going to tick down. Yeah, they did at least force out a Mango. All the regen here being used by the Viper, but it's a pretty big kill, to be honest. Lots of space for Stonebank here, who is going 2-1-1 so far, and has not yet queued up his item here after Boots and Soul Ring. I do really think it'll probably end up being the Radiance, though, this game. It looks and feels pretty good. It's such a value item against a Weaver.
Yeah, and also I don't feel like he's... Yes, the Leshrac could pressure towers early, but I don't think that Stonebank, he's worried like, oh my god, they're going to rack this in like 15, 20 minutes, you are up against like a Weaver,
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like that's going to be it.
That's a fair point. I mean, like, oh, nice avoidance there by the Void Sprint. Avoidance. I could see a Lash, like, trying to take all the tier 1s pretty early here against DogChamp. And trying to, like, pressure triangle and like, really reduce the amount of space that Alk has to farm in. Against most other safe laners that are, like, kind of late game carries that need, like, 5 or 6 items, like a Naga or a PL these days, right? That is an effective strategy, because then you force them to fight with whatever farm that they've currently got. As Lesh is dying in the mid lane. Good heals, though, courtesy of Flea. They might be able to turn this one around, as Kids is going to go down. Pingu nearby. Does not have Nightmare, doesn't have any spells here, so that'll be about the extent of this, but that's a reversal here on the mid lane gank, working out in favor of Alpha. That's pretty big for Soul.
Yeah, I mean, it looked like it was going to go pretty well. And this is what we're talking about. Like, if Leshrac dies a couple of times, and then his momentum is stopped, then he can't even take those tier 1 towers. So he needs to keep the snowball going, because if he dies, it's all on him, basically, to make space. Him and the Mars.
Mars doing pretty well so far. Yeah, absolutely. And even like I was saying, like, if a Lesh can take all tier 1s and force enemies to farm, like, less of the map, that's not always such an effective solution versus an Alk. Because while he does need like 4 or 5 items to kind of be online, as he does queue up the Radiance, being the first of those, he farms much more efficiently than any other hero, right, because of Greevil's Creed. So that's not always a winning strategy, because he's going to have good items no matter what. Like, you can't really stop him from farming, unless you just kill him over and over and over again, but not so easy to do, right? So yeah, I really wonder when Alpha think the time to fight is. It's probably going to be like Scotty at least on Weaver, but it feels like he might also need like MVP or something. We'll see. Rotation top. Dragon Tail stun is good. They're going to have to settle for Yaren here, if they can even get him, actually. And they should, yeah, especially as his Arctic Burn runs out. The Bug is going to chase him down, and Rises gets the kill, if not with Sakuchi, and then with the Swarm.
Alpha's playing really well, like with their rotations, like when they sent Flea mid lane to keep Leshrac alive, and they're just overall they're just playing really well. And I like it, but going back to the point I want to say, I don't think Weaver is going to be able to farm the Scotty very fast either. Like we keep going back to the point that generally, like Alka is going to have time. It's like unless they can kill him repeatedly, he's going to have the time he needs to get all his items. And then you'd have to think, is it enough if Alchemist can farm this game to take out all of Alpha? I kind of think it is, actually.
I kind of think it is, yeah. I think Alk can probably 1v5 this game. Unless, like, Mars has Refresher, then maybe it's problematic, right? Like, I think double Spear is perhaps enough into a grip is probably enough lockdown. But, like, I don't know. If that happens, like, if you get double Speared into a full duration Fiend's grip, like, your team's probably AFK or something. Like, to be honest, right? Like, especially with, a Wyvern, a DK, a Void Spirit. Like, something has to be going incredibly wrong if that ends up happening.
Like when we say 1v5, we don't actually mean just 1v5.
Not like literally 1v5, but like I think Refresher on Mars could be like really clutch this game. Is kind of the point I meant to make. That might be like a really crucial turning point. They're gonna try and set up again on a DK. This is the second TP out from Soul, who has not applied any pressure to the mid lane tower with his 2 points in the Edict, and instead looks to nuke through Luki. Kill will go the way of Rises here. That's his second, and this is now a top lane, which was otherwise doing just fine for DogChamp. Now kind of losing.
Yeah, I mean, so, like I said, like Soul, yeah, he's not applying pressure, but it doesn't matter as long as he's getting kills. He is sort of closing out the map, but at the same time, you could think maybe DogChamp, they're okay with this. You know, everything for Bloody Nine. You know, throw the bodies to the meat grinder. We don't care as long as Bloody Nine is able to stay alive.
Yeah, and Stonebank especially, right, continuing to farm on his Alchemist as he farms a little stack here. Now starting to put more points into the Grievous Greed. You do need Soul Ring on this Alchemist now because they added a mana cost to Chemical Rage. There's a Bloody Nine dying. It's a solo kill onto him. It's fine, not too big of a deal. Just a position 5 dying to a Mars. The bigger deal is going to be Yaren dying in a triangle though, because this is a big stack being stolen.
Oh dear. Yeah, now it's going, as the British say, a bit pear-shaped. You know,
yes.
it's...
Yes, they do, especially as Kits is going to whiff there on the 8th Remnant. There is no threat, however, of the follow-up Fiend's Grip, but there is a Split Earth. Do they have enough damage? That was not the longest of Astral Steps, and it's at least going to be useful for picking up the kill onto Pingu, as Alpha have lingered here quite a bit in the enemy triangle. They will end up losing quite heavily for this, as that's now their mid laner, as well as position 5 dead. Flea and Rises are able to at least make it to safety. But they got what they came for, stack stolen. So, I don't know. In a normal game, Odoma, I would dare say that's not exactly worth it, but because it is versus an Elk, I don't know, maybe it is. Even?
Yeah, right, like, it feels even, right? Because like Alchemist gets so much value out of these creeps, like, yeah. But yeah, I think Alpha, they're not happy with that, but they're not like depressed.
Yeah.
They're like, alright, you know, whoopsie, we could have left it earlier.
I think that's a good, that's a pretty good way of summarizing that. I'd agree.
And Alchemist is actually very close to the relic, by the way. It's insane. I mean, it's 11 minutes, so it's not like the craziest timing for him to have it, but it's just insane to see, like, oh, he's got 11 minutes relic. Like, oh, yeah. That's
Curse is pretty good. There is still a time lapse, though, which is not going to dispel the Viper Strike. That's the main concern here. Luki is getting kited around, though, by Soul as he protects Flea. They didn't have to use the time lapse. They didn't have to use the reload. Tower is going to go down in the meantime. The creep finished the job. So, you know, DogChamp got what they came for, even if it means that they didn't get any kills. So, and again, space created for the Alchemist, who now has the relic on his way. Talisman of Evasion quite cheap. So he'll have this probably around 13 minutes exactly. Good timing.
And Monster, he didn't leave the bottom lane during that fight. I think he's only going to help his team out after he has the Blink Dagger or if the enemy fights near a tower.
Good reload, though. That's going to... Yep. I mean, it's not the kind of fight you'd expect. Technically, he didn't leave his lane. But that's the beauty that's the Wisp grants you, right? Especially with a hero like the Lesh. Not only are you the mana battery, but you're also the early mobility that this hero kind of lacks.
It's always interesting to see what IO would prioritize first. Sometimes they go with the Holy Locket, sometimes they go Shard. In this one, he's prioritizing the mech over everything else.
Yeah.
It's like,
and I actually think that's probably the best choice he can make. I think this is mostly to do with the Void Spirit, trying to neutralize his pressure early game as Kits does pick up a kill. Because, again, no matter what build Void goes for, he's pretty much capped at damage because of his cooldowns. Like, it's just the way the hero works. So if you can counter that just by healing, especially early, like mech early is so much healing relative to how much HP your heroes have, relative to the amount of damage that the Void Spirit's going to be able to do. Like, I think it really makes sense, actually. I think it's quite wise.
I like it. I like it as well. It's just it's like Holy Lock is like if you only have one guy, you only go single target damage. But yeah, everyone's gonna take some damage, so you might as well. If you heal everyone, it's like you get so much more value out of it when you're healing 3 or 4 people at half HP, basically.
Yeah, and I think now like. You know, now you want the Locket, now you want to scale with the Holy Locket heals, you know, percentage based, all that good stuff, but early on, just the raw numbers. And there it is, 13 minutes Radiance, basically on the dot for Stonebank.
Or is it going to be the Shard next? The Shard's also really good. I mean, this 10% spell extra damage and lifesteal for the Leshrac does help him to really, like, run around and do whatever he wants.
I could see that, especially because it is going to be the Eternal Shroud. This is why I think we're going to see a lot more mid lane Lesh. I'm going to, you know, just to continue the NA lore, Pale Horse really likes the hero safe lane. It's fine. It looks okay. but that means, you know, it doesn't really bring the same tempo a mid lane Lesh does. It does give him, you know, the space for more farm as position 1 gets. But I think mid lane is kind of ideal for this hero right now.
Blink Dagger revealed, by the way. Monster has it, he's smoked up.
He's all alone.
He's gonna the Alchemist.
There's a reload. Yep, they need to get in now, and they will be. That stun is not going to come out here in time for Stonebank. And he can't even get off the Chemical Rage because he doesn't quite have it. They can ignore the Breathe Fire damage reduction because it's all magic anyway. As they chase for more, they want Bloody 9. Flea is going to leave his man behind because he's going to be able to pick up more kills, and he relocated from a safe point. Bloody 9 tanks a whole hell of a lot of damage, but he still is going to die eventually.
Right, I was like, Bloody 9. I was like, how is he alive?
Yeah.
What is the items? He's got like nothing.
Nah, he's got nothing. He's got to bring a Bazzy. He's so tanky. I don't know.
What the hell is that? But when you think about Leshrac, he only can do a certain amount of damage a second. Like, he's also kind of capped in a way, but it's not like the voice spirit, if that makes sense. Like, he has high DPS, but it is all magic, and you can't work around it.
Oh. And what is Ryze going for, by the way? Okay, so this is like a better, you know, when I see Weaver, like especially late Weaver picks that have to go for this Linken's first item, I go, why did you pick the hero? Like, I don't understand. Like, if you're picking this hero late in your draft, like 8th or 10th pick, or 9th pick for that matter, and you're building Linken's first, like, it's probably not a good Weaver game. Because this is how he's meant to farm, I think, like with an early item, usually Maelstrom, right? And then immediately into Linken's or BKB. Like, this is perfectly fine. This is where I think the hero can actually make a little bit of a difference in the game compared to having to go first item Linken's.
Yeah, I mean, the thing, what is he actually blocking though, right? It's like Dragon Tail, Winter's Curse. That's kind of it, right?
Yeah, I think that's all he needs to block, though, to be honest, right?
Or most likely, I think DogChamp can kind of ignore him if the heroes are able to survive a little bit. They can just kill the Weaver last. His damage is not absolutely wild. I'll say that, then he'll just like bring the Blood 9 down with 3 hits.
Not yet, right? But Ryze is eventually, I think with this build, you go for BKB maybe, you go for Gleipnir eventually. They're going to scout him now, but he's just too fast. They didn't set up, they didn't trap him in, they knew where he was, and now Monster with a big old blink on it does not catch, of course, the Void Spirit, so it's only Bloody 9. And Luki on the run is going to be held down now by the Fiend's Grip as Alpha burning literally everyone on over. A full range of TPs as they even interrupt the farming of Soul to ensure that they stop that kill attempt in its tracks. And maybe get a +1? Yaren? Nah, he's safe.
By the way, I love the use of the time-lapse just so he can go back and actually do damage. That was pretty cool. He's like, he did use defensive, just use it defensively. That's pretty cool.
The only thing for Alpha, the only thing that's not going well for them is that this Alk is still farming relatively well. This is probably the last fight that Alchemist doesn't show up to, because he's about to have BKB.
I might consider, sometimes you see them even wait for the Blink Dagger, right? But it's like, yeah, once you have BKB, it's like, dude, we kind of need you, you know?
Yeah, I think this game he's probably fine, because you're only scared of Grip, you're not scared of the Edict damage, Weaver has no damage yet, you know? At least the magic damage you can ignore with BKB. And you need a little bit of breathing room. Your team is kind of just getting ran at. So I would like to see him join fights with this BKB. Is what I should have said, but I think he will. I think Stonebank will.
Overall, though, Alpha has handled the Alchemist pretty well. Like, less than a 1,000 gold advantage at 17 minutes in.
Yeah.
You know, like, this is as good as you can get against an Alchemist, basically. Like,
and they're not diving, like, egregiously far after him. Like, they went triangle once to steal a stack, and then they killed him once top when he kind of overextended and they saw him on a ward, right? Like, that's totally fine. They're not, like, constantly just smoking into his jungle and trying to find him. Alpha are still, you know, farming on their own heroes. Like you said, Lesh is farmed. Weaver is still quite farmed, almost has Linken's ready. But again, the Alk, he does one thing. He farms, and he is ready to go. They might wait for Blink just to make this even easier, but the BKB is ready to go now.
It's, but on the other hand, though, Kits and Luki did suffer. Like, their net worth is pretty low, especially Kits on the Void Spirit. Like, you know, 6,000 at this point.
Yeah.
You compared to the Leshrac, it was the way they're forced to play, but I'm sure they're not that happy about it. Like, we lost a lot for this Alchemist. We believe he can 1v5 for sure, but it's very expensive. Oh, here we go.
And that's Luki kicking this one off. Kits is immediately on in. Onto 2. Arena, though, is good. Stonebank's going to be able to shrug this one off with the BKB. Gets through the Wisp. Turns now to try and get through this Lesh, who is broken, taking lots of damage. Luki tanking up very nicely. Is going to be able to kite around Soul. And that's Monster simply just not having the damage, not enough follow, without Weaver in the fight, without Lesh able to pump out his damage against Stonebank. It just looks easy for Stonebank, doesn't it? They lose the Viper, but that's a 5. They're cool with that.
Yeah, and the things they got were very worth it as well. And yep, this, like you said, this is the first fight with the Alchemist, and he makes it. He's like, oh, it's very different when he's
Yep.
around. Like, and it's also a pretty good Winter's Curse. A lot of the damage from the Pulse Nova was negated while in the Mars arena.
Yeah, made it look very, very easy for them.
And look, Alchemist is back to farming.
Yeah, I mean, he's going to have Blink for the next fight. They thought about perhaps looking for Roche, but their only minus armor is Acid Spray, and it's honestly not that fast when your other core is a Void Spirit, even if it did go for Witchblade. I was a little bit surprised to see him go for Witchblade over the Ags, but I think it made sense. He had to fight early. This item gives him really good stats as well. I think the armor is going to be pretty important later on versus the Weaver. Who is going to probably join a fight or two now, at least do a little bit more confident moves. You've got Lincoln's up, but who's in trouble is actually going to be Soul. He's got the Eternal Shroud ready to go, and that actually does save him quite a bit of damage. Again, Lukey and Kits finding their damage numbers a bit more capped. Full heal courtesy of Rises, and that is going to be then Kits on the run. Spear just swings a bit wide, so he's going to be able to make it out, but they being DogChamp, lose a couple of heroes for that attempt.
Yeah, I mean, if it's not already abundantly clear, they can't fight without the Alchemist. Like, it's Stonebank or bust. Without Stonebank, I feel the rest of the team can't do anything. They sacrifice everything for the Alchemist, and they can't fight anymore. It looked like an easy kill against the Leshrac, but then again, you're up against Io, and you're next to a tier 2 tower, so the reinforcement was going to be there in time.
And here's another reason I'm not totally in love with Weaver as a core in general, is that I always got Lincolns, which is great. You block, a couple of stuns, and that's kind of about it. I guess a Viper Strike, right? But Kits is about to get Ag Scepter relatively soon, and that item kind of completely ruins you. Now it feels like you need BKB or like a Manta or something. Like,
yeah.
Not ideal for this Weaver. Like, it always just feels like you have to build an item to stay alive, and then enemies build another item, and then you got to build another. It's like this arms race of items that Weaver always is trailing in.
It's not like the hero also. I mean, he's farming really well this game. He's number 2 in network, but even then, he's also feels like, oh, yep, I did. Sorry, guys, I need one more.
It's not because of the Alchemist. Like, let's be clear, right? It's not like Alchemist went for like Sheepstick or some like weird item and that counters him. It's just like it's the natural item progression of the Void Spirit that's causing this. Who is underfarmed as well, right? Like we've said this.
Hopefully he's not too far away from the Aghanim Scepter. Smoke on smoke action here from Alpha.
Good jump by Monster, yeah, but Kits does manage to get away because they don't spear him to a tree. Instead, the curse is pretty good. Good damage out of Monster. Nightmare save is decent as the creep is going to absorb the 8th Remnant. That allows actually Monster to erect the arena, trapping Lukey. But Luku's joining the fight as Stonebank BKB active, trying to get through Monster, but the mechanism, as well as the Glimmer Cape, actually ends up kiting out his BKB, his entire BKB. Now Rise is able to do a little bit of damage in this fight, chasing back the supports. Yaren is going to be able to actually do some really nice moves around the Roche pit and blink away with his Blink Dagger. So they only end up losing Lukey, but this could be Roche, potentially?
Yeah, no acid. Sorry, what was it called? The ultimate from Alpha is not available for another 30 seconds, so that is going to be a problem. And yeah, Alpha's going to take it. At this point, that's all the defensive items that a Weaver needs, Yeah. Like, I got the ultimate one, the Aegis itself.
That's very true, and DogChamp are not going to contest this one, so even though it's not the fastest Roche, it's not the slowest one either. That'll be an Aegis here for Rises. That's not a BKB being completed, it's a Dragon Lance. I wonder what this build is going to end up being then for Weaver.
Probably Gleipnir at some point,
yeah,
right?
Gleipnir Shard is generally what they all kind of end up going into. But, like, do you think he wants a BKB at some stage? Kind of feels like it, yes, right?
I mean, what was it? Dragon Tail and Winter's Curse are the stuns, right?
Yeah,
Alchemist stun, it's pretty dodgeable.
And eventually, yeah, very true. And eventually, this Ag Scepter, the double silence from the Void Spirit, is maybe problematic. You do have a Relo, you do have a Bane. Maybe this is where, those picks come in clutch in the draft. Relo in, Monster finds his mark, it's Bloody 9. Spear actually finds it as well. I didn't think that would connect, but it does. And Soul is going to collect the kill there with the Split Earth. They are waiting for them, though. Oh, I thought they were waiting for them on the mark. Sorry. I thought Lukey was on his reload point.
Radiant's middle tower is under attack.
In the meantime, though, yeah, it's Alpha's just played it so well. Like, if DogChamp had any other draft, I think they would have lost by now. Like the way that they've been able to play on Alpha, it's really good. In the meantime, though, Alchemist did not go for Blink Dagger. I think that's really hindered him in a lot of these fights. You know, I always felt like, oh, he's gonna jump. Does he have a Link Dagger now? Is it on the way? Yes, finally it is on the way.
He built an AC first over it.
Yeah, because I mean, that fight when he was going to go for the Mars, I was like, oh, he's just gonna jump and like shred him. Then I was like, wait, well, he's not jumping.
Yeah, or he was gonna like jump and shred the Wisp. Well, here it is, but he's gonna stun himself, so they got to bail from this fight already. But the fight started regardless. Bloody 9 is saved momentarily. Luki as well finds a stun with the Lincolns on cooldown, but there's still too much magic damage. Now Monster is being held in tier 2 range, but another Nightmare save. There's the jump onto the backliners, but a full heal out from Rises means that Pingu is A-okay. In fact, he's gonna turn for the Fiend's Grip. Luki's out of range to save him. There's finally the dust being applied, but it's almost a full duration grip there, which burns all the mana of the Alchemist, but of course he out-heals the whole darn thing. Kits, no X Scepter in hand, means he's fairly limited as far as what he can get done. Not a bad fight for DogChamp, though. They still managed to repel and get the kill on a Monster and Pingu.
Yeah, it's really good for them. Next fight, they'll have the Void Spirit Aghanim Scepter, which will do a lot with you. They'll be able to cancel that Fiend's Grip. And Alpha, that was kind of best case scenario, right? Like they got the the Viper very early on in the fight, and they got full Fiend's Grip, but it wasn't enough. They still have the Aegis, so overall, like Alpha, they played this really well. But this is the strength of the Alchemist. This is why this hero deserves the few nerfs right now.
Very much still in the game, especially as he approaches 6 slots already. There's a couple of upgrades, of course. At some point, Swift Blink allows you to remove your boots, right? So that's going to be another slot to upgrade your Blink. So he's starting to top out, though, as there's a kill onto the Viper. And yeah, I think that fight kind of shows, yeah, exactly why Rises queues up his Scotty, right? You need some sort of additional bit of healing negation, because level 2 Enfeeble, I mean, just to show you, like, how not great this ability feels, like it's a 60% damage reduction and Pingu still is maxing it last versus an Alchemist, right? Like if
and a 6% heal reduction as well. And
yeah,
still,
yeah, and he's still not taking it. I mean, like maybe that's a mistake. Maybe I'm not saying that this is the right build, but like it just doesn't feel that good. Like if there's ever a game that you want it in or a hero you want it against, it's certainly an Alchemist. One would think.
He's getting it eventually.
No, I know, and Alk got like a 14-minute BKB. Like, what are you gonna do, right? You can't enfeeble him, but...
Oh, Kits? Is he... he's gonna be fine. But yeah, I mean, to be fair though, it's like the other spells from Bane are so good, right? It's like you gotta max out the Brain Sap and the Nightmare as well. So it's Enfeeble just has to go by the wayside regardless of...
I don't know what you do, man. I don't know, maybe because this ability just feels... I'd never take it. Like, what's the point? I feel like maybe what you do is you like have these numbers and you make it undispellable or something, right? It doesn't pierce magic immunity, it's just undispellable.
It seems like there's a lot of times when Ice Frog has a certain problem with a hero, like Outward Devourer's name, you know, it's changing every couple of patches. It's like I'm not sure what I'm gonna call him, you know, just keep changing. And this is like Bane's Q has always been like that. It's like 3 good abilities and whatever weird thing he dreams
Smoke
up.
play. Rises is going to run right into a full enemy team. They're ready and waiting for him, especially with the Axe Scepter. That'll throw him for a surprise. They set him up with the 8th run on the 2nd time. The Curse immediately is going to keep Soul out of this fight. Rises, though, still tanking up quite nicely. Now there's a grip on a Stonebank. Monster, good damage onto Rises, onto Bloody 9 as he will finally fall as they've kited out the BKB duration through the grip. They're going to spear Stonebank to a tree. He's still tanking through this fairly nicely, though, and now receives a bit of healing. Kits with more damage. Still in this fight. The supports are out of it for Alpha, but Stonebank still alive, finally taken down by the damage of Soul and Rises combined. Now they can focus down onto Luki. Monster is going to get him there with one last bonk. And then it's going to be a team fight win for Alpha, but only because they had Aegis.
Yeah, I mean, like Rises, but that's it. That's the ultimate defensive item that he was waiting for. And again, by the way, full duration Fiend Script, like wasting so much time of the Alchemist. So, you know, Pingu on the Bane, like that was MVP.
What? They just killed Rises for free. They just end up simply surprising him. And here's the Void Spirit Axe Scepter. Even though it's not a first item, still able to actually find a lot of impact here against the Weaver, who is actually going to go, screw that, I don't want to die to that anymore, and he's going to go for the BKB. He can disassemble the Dragon Lance. And Kits is going to strike back here and even get Monster. So the fight completely, pardon me, salvaged there by Kits, who's able to find 2 cores while his Alk is dead.
That could be the game-winning moment for if DogChamp wins, honestly. Like, they lost the Alchemist, and it looked like, oh, you know, the game is finally in Alpha's favor. Not Alpha's favor, but they're in control of it. Despite Alchemist being farmed, they showed, oh, we can kill him in a 5-on-5. And then Kids come in, takes out 2 cores, and suddenly it's like, oh, okay, like turns the whole game around.
Yeah.
This is the
Yeah, I
they got
mean,
everything.
there's the
They got
first
everything.
life, right? But just like Alec is just never able to hit a hero in this fight.
This Fiend's Grip, like the whole duration of Fiend's Grip on the Alchemist, wasting all that ultimate time. It takes them a while to get the kill, though. Like, it takes them forever to get the kill.
It took him forever, but eventually they got there, and that's the important part. Kits eventually has the damage. I mean, he's got a couple of ultimate orbs. He's not finished Scotty, which is probably like really the biggest problem here, right? But eventually they get the job done. Monster making an aggressive jump here on a Lukey, but he's got some backup coming in, and with the magic damage, they easily have the kill. So maybe Lukey farming a little bit out of position, relatively speaking, considering the threat of the relocate.
I wonder if they're gonna give ceremonial robe to Kits. It does give him 10% like lower stats resistance as well as magic resistance, which is pretty good for the Void Spirit. But he was able to use that Essence Ring to really good effect just now. So it's like, do I want 10% more silence and more damage, or do I want to, live longer? Tough choice for him.
Now, I think one pitfall of this alpha draft is that this Wyvern is like really good against their team, obviously, but also you don't have a position 4 who's going to be nearly as strong as a Wyvern in these fights, in the same way that a Wyvern is, like Wyvern farms as well. It's 2k richer over the Wisp, which is, a quarter of his total net worth. And he's going to be able to put that to use very, very well here. Just buying items that allows him to get a Winter's Curse off. That's huge. So maybe this is where DogChamp, they can rely a little bit more, yes, still on Stonebank to kind of, aggro the team and kind of tank a lot of the initial damage, but have the Void Spirit and the Wyvern kind of come in clutch and still win the team fight overall for them.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. Like, with the Wyvern, she's going for the shard. Next, she also got that Philosopher's Stone. So, like you said, the hero has really good abilities, and she's farming well with the Philosopher's Stones. Like, it all adds up to a very useful late-game support. And she's starting to catch up to Lukey's farm.
Yep.
Like, she's at 1,500 gold. That's not, that's not much for support.
Yep, pretty much. Smoke on
What's
smoke
the
now.
difference?
Roche is up. Roche on number 2, carrying his shard as Alpha and Pingu head into the river, getting their feet wet, hoping to get their beak wet versus now Bloody 9. As Stonebank is going to break the smoke here onto Soul. There's going to be the Dragon Tail stun. They're going to start bonking him now. He's got a BKB, but that's not going to be enough to save him. There's no Wisp in the vicinity. He was a bit too far. Flea, a little bit separated from his Disco Pony, is now going to be solo cursed and eventually killed off here, taken down. Lukey as well. His Dragon Tail stun, it found Rises.
And that's huge. Like, the Pingu, by the way, died very early in the fight. They focused him down. Something I want to say is, like, they need to get rid of the Bane first. They did. He buys back thinking, alright, I can still salvage it, but by that time, 2 cores are dead, as well as the Io. Curse used just to prevent the Io from teleporting away. He's like, oh no, I don't want you to ultimate. I want you to die right now, not in 12 seconds.
That's what it was. Okay. Yeah, and I mean, that guarantees he doesn't bring back a friend. For example, like a Lesh who buys back in the fountain, instantly back in the fight. Aegis then for Stonebank. So we'll take another look at that one. I don't know how they managed to catch Rises. I was shocked that the Dragon Tail hit him. That's what the Lincolns is for. I guess maybe, obviously it was on cooldown, right? But I'm trying to catch you. We'll put it on cooldown. There he is. It just hit him.
I thought it was the stun from the Alchemist. I thought it was like at the same time. That's why one of them was blocked and one of them wasn't. Well, he's been Dragon Tail. No, he's stunned by the Dragon Tail. It's right there.
It's Dragon Tail that got him, yeah. Again, like a stun that it's harder to avoid, but it was a ranged form Dragon Tail stun. I don't know. Could have time lapsed. He died with BKB on the cooldown. He BKB'd early in the fight, so he couldn't just BKB it, which is fine, right? But I'm just surprised. What's the cooldown on Lincoln's? 14 seconds?
I mean, it's not like it's gonna dodge, like every 3 seconds you're gonna be dodging. It's like he dodged one, then it's like, maybe I'll dodge another by the end of the fight, What is scary to me though is that I think Alpha may not have a chance to win. Can we look at the win percentage?
Oh, okay. They're doing everything to keep Soul alive. He's tanking a lot. Will make it out. The Wisp even managed to TP away. That's a tier 2 tower gone. All of DogChamp forced back. Not bad.
They need to waste the time off the Aegis, and 74. I think that's kind of like under 26% for Alpha. I think is generous. You know what I mean? I thought there would be like something like around the 10% range for Alpha.
Yeah, I don't know. This item build for Weaver has felt kind of awkward as well. Like needing to go back for BKB, which was fine, right? But you delayed the BKB by probably a full fight because you decided you tried to go Scotty first, and you have this ultimate orb, which is going to continue just chilling in your inventory because you want to go Shard next. Which again, it makes sense. I don't know. It just
It's a Weaver. I know. It's the Weaver pick.
Yeah, it's the Weaver pick.
It's like that's how I feel sometimes when I see Chances in position 5. It's like, wow, you're great in the lane. Now what do you do?
Yeah.
Are you doing anything?
Tank smokes, I guess.
I'll turn on my heal with my like 1.2 strength gain.
Oh wow, this is gonna be the barracks down. Who's Wraith Pact is this as well?
I believe
Vipers.
Yeah, it's a Viper. And by the way, there's a Salt Curious on the Alchemist as well as the Swiftling. He just hits really fast. And he doesn't care about.
Yeah, he hits real fast. That's Monster. He's going to catch the Alchemist of all heroes there. Soul is going to go on in, but Monster dying needs to be healed up. Will receive the Wisp tether here for now as Soul trying to get through these squishier backliners. They've actually caught Kits, but even he managed to tank through this now. And now they turn back onto Soul, who does have the Shard online, so it's getting a couple of extra stuns that buys him the time he needs to pick off through Lukey. They get through the Viper. They even get the first life of Stonebank, but can they get the seconds? They're chasing for more. There's still enough mana for Soul, and they're going to relocate him. There is a BKB TP at the ready. He's going to choose to do that. There's just not enough damage. But it's actually going to be probably Yaren who's going to be in trouble here. They know where he is, obviously, because of the bug. Silence now has a little bit more time to buy himself, but not very much, as it's going to be Soul who claims his life. And it's a solid high ground defense there from Alpha.
Yeah, Yaren, you could have taken the bounty ruin. I mean, in my my Herald 3 games, we always take the bounty ruin before dying. But Yaren, yeah, but overall, that was kind of a pretty impressive hold from Alpha. Yeah, they lose the Raxes, but considering that they were able to get a few kills and pop the Aegis off, Bane. This is what we talked about, like in terms of farm. If he had a 4-staff, he has some sort of mobility, he could have been able to get that Phoenix Grip off on the Alchemist, maybe prevent that TP, but situation for them.
Yeah, and it goes to show like the value of this Ag Shard pickup here, right, by Soul. Oh my god, wait, this isn't a kill, is it? Kits? Onto Rises? Rises, okay, he gets off the time lapse, but just barely, he still might be dead. Oh, Rises is going to make it out by the skin of his teeth. No, he dies.
The Radiance.
The Radiance burn. And now Pingu, well, they don't have a stun for him. Was that Berserk Potion? It was Berserk Potion. Okay. I mean, we were watching a replay. I'll cut back to this, but that was basically the extent of it. Weaver was just far. Weaver even had like multiple seconds to get out.
Well, maybe the double Shikuchi charges will help him out in that, but Kits honestly has been playing insane. Like the kills bottom lane were amazing, and now he's gonna just.
No, but look how much time this is.
Well, to be fair, it's not like he knew. Like, look, he's silent.
Well, I mean, there was an Aether Remnant chilling. I mean, I don't know, man.
I mean, you made it sound like the guy was taking hits to the face for like 10 seconds.
I mean, it was a couple. I don't know. I think it's a precarious situation to be farming, is what I would say.
But it's fair. Yes, it's a risky farm, but they had a ward right behind them, so just relying a bit too much on his Lincolns and the support. And meanwhile, the Pingu's not out for 20 seconds. You want to use buyback if you're the Weaver, Rise? It's just gonna get the racks.
Yeah, they can't get Megas. They can look for the win if they want to, and maybe they want to. This is a lot of damage out. Oh, instead they're going to take the jump onto Soul. They need Flea, and they need him now here for the heals. So the Arena of Blood is good. It buys him time, at least Soul, to get off the BKB charge. Good damage on a Bloody 9 as here's Flea. He's reloaded from somewhere, and here's now Pingu respawning, but he doesn't have the grip for 20 more seconds. Bloody 9 so far is the only casualty, and is very likely to be the only one. The rest of DogChamp will evacuate the high ground here after they've gotten the top barracks. There's the lane I was looking for.
I mean, you got it on the third try.
Yeah, there
which it's like you're like mid no, bottom no, but you got on third try. I was impressed. In the meantime, though, yeah, I mean, Blade Knight doesn't care, right? Like he's been dying the whole game. This is not an issue for him. Just another death, especially when they can get the top racks like that. But Alchemist, dude, like. I love carries that can do this, by the way, is that when they get items, they become able to really take a few hits, as well as deal damage. When you look at the Weaver, the damage is fine as a carry, but he just has no durability.
Yeah, that Sliver is going to help for sure. And now, like you said, the 2 charges of Sakuchi make him a bit more mischievous.
middle tower
But it does
is
still
under
feel like
attack.
he's lacking damage. He's got Shard, right, which is going to be pretty big for his Gemini attack. But they just can't really take down the Salk. They desperately need the Scotty up. They needed it yesterday, but it's understandably been a pretty hard game here for Rises. The hero, he does a lot with items, right? But he is incredibly squishy as a consequence, and they certainly squished this bug a couple times this game.
By the way, Mars went for an overwhelming blink before the refresher orb. That's interesting. You know, like
That is interesting.
Like, I mean, he is basically the price of a refresher orb to get the
Yeah,
like,
it's
right?
expensive. The upgrades are very expensive. I think it's like to serve as a blink dagger canceller for the Wyvern, perhaps. That has been a little problem. It cancels the DKs. That's about it, isn't it? I guess it cancels Alks.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with it. It's a bit of an odd thing to see him go for that instead of like, you know, the shard into the refresher orb. But
yeah,
he's not,
the shard's really good. Yeah,
he's not too far from the orbs. Like 3,000 gold, he can farm that. You know, a good team fight a couple of towers.
And here's Rises. Again, he feels the need to go in first. He's got time lapse and a Sakuchi charge. It's actually Soul's smoke that breaks first, but they're onto Flea. He's dead. He can buy back. There's a tier 1 to TP right onto, but Soul, he could use the help right now, being stunned bash. And there's Flea, who is very likely to die just immediately after. Stonebank just going to auto attack him. In the meantime, they've gotten through the Wyvern at the very least, as well as now Bloody Nine, who buys back. And there's the grip. Good duration. Is that going to be enough for the kill here? They need a bit more on a Soul Bank, and Soul's got it to make that Stone Bank. As there's 4 dead for DogChamp. This time, Weaver, he gets the damage out and even leaves with full HP.
Yeah, I mean, the buyback coming out from clutch from Flea in that situation. And again, Pingu, they did not kill him first. Like, anytime that they leave the Bane to use the Fiend's Grip, because he's always getting the 6-second Fiend's Grip. He's never getting, like, the 2-second. It's like, it's always either 6-second or not. And they're also trying to arena into the Split Earth. And the Split Earth, you know, doing a lot. Like, that buyback, keeping Soul alive, allowing him to do all the damage he needs to. And yeah, Fiend's Grip again. Hits is just... it has to be Pingu first. It cannot be anything other than Pingu. They're all pretty low at the end of the fight, but it doesn't matter. They all end up dying.
Yeah, it
on
doesn't matter.
DogChamp.
They're all alive. Oh, yeah, that's got to be frustrating, getting them through the Fiend's Grip. And they do cancel that eventually. I didn't bring it up at level 25 now. Dissemblate does stun. It's a game-changing ability, really, for the Void Spirit. They're far, but maybe like 1 or 2 fights away from Yarn as well, having the Splinter Blast stuns, which again is another one of these game-changing abilities. It's completely bonkers the first time you get hit with one of those.
Yeah.
Pingu's in real deep here. He's bringing in Rises. They're trying to stagger these deaths, and this would be a dieback here, actually, onto Bloody Nine. Good spacing from Pingu ensures that he's not caught by anyone here inside the curse. So it's just a solo curse, which is now another tool that DogChamp don't have for this impending high ground defense. And look at the net worth swing here, the XP swing especially.
50-50 chance. I mean, every game is kind of 50-50. One team is gonna win or not, but it's like, I love it. It's like 50. It's like, it's good. It's very even. 41 minutes, and I think this really goes as a testament to how good Alpha's playing. Like, DogChamp has the better draft, hands down, in my opinion, but Alpha is outplaying them. Like, the way they're able to stay in this game, the way they're able to... Like, look at the middle one for Alpha. He's not that far ahead. 7,000 gold only. It's not that big of a deal at this point. He's not... Like, compared to, you know, the other cores, they're just doing really well in Alpha. It's very impressive to see them play this well.
And now Weaver feels like he's fully online after that fight. Full Gleipnir, full Scotty, BKB, a DD rune even to boot. He's feeling pretty good. And this leveler being put to good use there versus the buildings. They've all of a sudden taken all of the tier 2 towers. They are still behind here in a lane and a half of barracks, so top and mid are going to constantly be shoving, but they've shoved those lanes out far enough to feel confident to go for the Roche play. And with good reason. DogChamp are not going to contest this. Roche number 3's got an Ag Scepter. They will be giving that to Soul for Nihilism? Yes, very good ability.
Yes, the ability to turn yourself and all nearby enemies ethereal. You slow them, they take more magic damage. But, of course, that makes it... your physical, like your whole team's physical damage is negated, so it is quite risky to use this.
Counter synergy for sure. But I feel, and I could be wrong, I feel like Rises has taken to killing the backliners, which are not near the Lesh, and Lesh has taken to kind of just tanking this Alchemist. Am I wrong?
Yeah, yes, because it's also like Io's always with the Lesh Rack. He's never with... He doesn't care about Weaver. He's like, I can't move with you, I'm going to play with Lesh Rack. I mean,
So
the shard, by the way, that's weird.
It's risky for sure. It's risky business for them to possibly ruin each other's kills, right? But I think it, and so far in fights, it hasn't proven to be the case that Leshen and this Weaver are ever hitting like the same person. Outside of like this is the last person alive, let's kill them situation, which in that case you don't use nihilism. But yeah, it's just, I don't think this is going to be an issue. It could be though, so we'll keep an eye out for that on the execution level for Alpha.
6,000 gold advantage for Alpha. The first time they take the whole net worth lead in the game. Yeah, I'm actually kind of surprised that the IO didn't actually go for the shard at all. He went for the blink dagger instead. I don't know, that's a little bit confusing for me, but you know, it's working out for me. He does have the paladin sword, by the way, also most of his healing. It's not just the cores who benefit from it, despite what my cores always seem to think.
Yeah, I think the blink's an interesting choice, but it makes sense considering how many heroes want to hunt and stun him at the beginning of a fight. Now he can blink into tether range, which is like, it sounds ridiculous, but like given how big, well, we can't see because he's got a tether up, but tether range is like probably about, I don't know, this much camera screen, right? You got to zoom out a little bit for full tether range. It's good to latch a tether. So if you can blink into that range, you stay very far away. Okay, Luki is simply going to TP away. There's a grip ready for Pingu, but he was more focused on D-warding. Didn't feel like the DK was worth it, and perhaps that's the right choice. DK does have a buyback.
You use that, then suddenly you don't have it for the Alchemist, which is, I don't think he's actually gripped any person other than the Alchemist this whole game. He's like, no, it's all Alchemist or no one else.
And fair play to him for that, right? This man knows what he wants. He knows what he needs to do to get there. That's a kill.
If Winter Wyvern reaches 25 with the shard and like the Splinter Blast will be so good for them, because you do get like the double Splinter Blast thanks to the Cold Embrace.
Yeah, it's gonna feel really good. There it is. You can see it again. Completely nukes the wave. They gotta come back and deal with this. It's good farm, level 21. It's hard to reach 25. Oh, Viper is caught, and this will be a kill onto him.
It's 15 deaths in the game, I believe. I mean, to be fair, he's been alive for like 3 minutes. It's kind of offensive that he's lived this long.
Yeah, he's going to be wiped off the face of the map for that one. For the sin of living.
I mean, at this point, I think Bloody Nine is like...
Smoke play? Smoke play? Okay, not really working out for Luki. As I think he is simply going to die. It wasn't really much of a smoke, so much as a solo move outside the base. He was moving under the cover of the ninja gear.
And unfortunately, but yes, he does have buyback, so it's not that... Like he doesn't want to use it, but at least you have that option.
I think he's got no choice here, right? Ryze is coming to the base with an Aegis and all this damage and a leveler.
All the towers are also pushed out, so it's like the lanes are pushed out. So there's
there's a refresher for Monster Pardon as he goes in for the first of potentially 2 arenas. He whips though on this one. No one quite caught.
Hasn't used his refresher orb yet. Oh, and he's the beacon. All right, that's good.
Nice shot by Kids. Yep, that was really good. They can afford to lose this barracks. It's okay, not the end of the world. They do catch rises. They'll pump in a little bit of damage for that, but they seem to be content letting this one go, especially in a 5v3 scenario. After monsters just refreshed, you're happy with the amount of utility you've got out so far. Alpha, are they going to go bottom? Yeah, they want to push bottom here to make sure they can keep their tier 1s relatively safe. Stonebank, thinking about going in. They would need a buyback here to really commit. They don't even need a buyback, actually. Luki just goes that easily. In trouble's Bloody Nine, but he does get E-bladed. So he's going to be kept alive here a bit longer, especially thanks to all this healing. Not for long, though, because Soul is here, and Bloody Nine forced death up to the high ground. They clear the Swarm Beetle, rises, giving chase. They see him underneath the tower. They throw a potion at him, and he's going to be forced to time-lapse back. And actually, they keep Bloody Nine alive.
Good hold by DogChamp. Really good hold. I mean, the bottom lane fight is just getting Flea out like that, then making sure Bloody Nine lives. I mean, you know, he didn't pay the death tax this time. And now staying alive here. He goes for the chemical rage movement speed. Yeah. By the way, Mars also gets the 180 health talent at level 25 naturally, but this means this is a big buff for the IO, because now IO tethering anyone's just the amount of heal you're getting is going to be absolutely insane.
Very true. Yeah, I don't think there's a Shiva's or a Scotty up on anyone, right? Only the AC. Yeah, which is obviously not going to do anything for the healing factor. Yeah, very good point. And a good Ghost Scepter there by, E-Blade there by the Void Spirit, saving his position 5. Gives them the numbers advantage heading into this one. And there's a DD root in the river. Stonebank's going to scout it. He's going to be a happy camper. You can see, I mean, look at how Alpha are playing, though. They're all the way in their base. I mean, like, really in their base.
By the way, they're going all in on preventing Weaver's damage. Besides the Ethereal Blade that you mentioned, the Dragon Knight also has the Heaven's Halberd. So it's like, that's a lot of physical.
That's a great tool as well, just for breaking Lincolns, right?
I didn't think of it that way at all. But yes, it is like you can break either you get the stun off or you get the disarm. You'd rather get the stun, but the disarm is also
I mean you'd rather get the disarm, but I think like you're not displeased if you disarm him for 5 seconds, are you?
Not at all. Okay, smoke comes out. Does Mars have the double? Does he have the orb available? No,
he doesn't. 20 seconds. Wyvern as well, being a little bit annoying here, constantly shoving back the waves. They know that they're going to want to smoke out of the base. They've left the Lesh stun here to deal with the wave, and that'll be good enough, actually. As DogChamp being very disciplined here. I like this move. They're just going to try and fight underneath this ward with Yaren up front to break the smokes. Instead, it's going to be Pingu who leads them up the hill. They have vision now on Luki. They're going to reveal it with the Enfeeble. DogChamp a bit too far away to really help out. Yaren is going to go in with the heal, but Soul has plenty of damage for him. It's Stonebank, though, who's onto the 2 supports. Flees and Disc is going to proc as Stonebank continues to give chase. He does not have Chemical Rage for 10 more seconds, though, so he's quite slow now without the boots. As there's going to be now a Luki as well as Bloody Nine dying. Yaren taken down by Pingu. Monster trying to catch Kips, won't be able to do so. Oh, with the Hex canceling the TP. Stonebank left behind. He's going to end up dying.
It's kind of surprising he decided to TP at all instead of just running. He does have the max movement speed Chemical Rage, and IO did use Relocate, so oh wow, Alchemist, that was a very risky TP. They all have buyback on DogChamp's side, and I think they're all gonna have to use it if you don't want to lose your whole base.
Yeah, almost certainly here. E-Blade there for Rises. That's the Lincoln's exposed now. Well, Weaver exposed. No BKB for 30 seconds, however, could be an issue, especially as they do catch the Wisp, who does not have an Andisk for 50. Going for at least for the lane of Barracks, though. There's going to be the initial stun. Breaks the Lincolns that Soul is also carrying. Plenty of Splinter Blast coming through, but they don't quite have the talent yet. Second play now from Kits. He tries to get through Fleas. So low on Fleas, not going down yet. The Curse will secure the kill, but Monster, it's going to make him enough space here to get the Spear, and that's a kill now onto Kits. He's got buyback, though, and he's going to use it very quickly as Luki in trouble, dies to the magic damage. Stonebank 1v1 here versus the Weaver. They get the bash into the damage, and that's a kill onto the Weaver. He's got buyback as well, and could time-lapse back into the fight because he didn't get it off. DogChamp, they have got to be aware of that here, as Soul's still doing plenty of damage. There he is, Weaver back in the fight, immediately back onto Bloody Nine. That's a kill here. Bloody Nine's got buyback. It's really now only Luki who's dead without buyback. Everyone else has already used it in this fight for DogChamp. They're trying to hold back Alpha from running into the base, but they can only hold back one. Weaver, a little bit worse for wear, but pops the BKB. He finds Kit's spear to the wall, and that's a double spear, a double dieback now for DogChamp, who only have the Alchemist and the Wyvern to defend versus 5.
Oh my god, I mean, it was kind of a good Winter's Curse to get a kill off. I think it was on the IO, but Kids also make that alive. But in the end, it's Alpha who have, they have more. They just have, they're way ahead in terms of network, which they shouldn't be at this point of the game.
Oh, good Curse.
Oh, that's good Curse.
Oh, Andisk. What a save there from the disc. Lots of damage, though. I think he took the Curse down? Curse duration? No, it doesn't even have it.
Yeah,
but, yeah, but don't expose. GG's called. Stoneman can't go in. Doesn't have BKB. Does not have the Chemical Rage. Not much he could do. And that is going to be game 1 into the hands of Alpha.
I mean, Alpha. If you see this, I think no matter what, you have to be Alpha's amazing team. Compared to what DogChamp had such a good draft. They were ahead. They had what they needed, and they couldn't close out the game. They had 2 racks advantage, and Alpha still